fuck is it? Huh?
It wasn't your fault, mate. We go southwest, through here, we cut the journey in half.
Still bleeding, but we should go.
I should have gone to Vegas.
There's something up there in those woods. Something fucking big.
Oh my God.
What is that? It's a warning.
Well, this is clearly the house we'll get murdered in.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we'll recap a 2017 British horror film named The Ritual. Before we start, it is a request to please like and comment on the video as it will help us to grow our reach. At the beginning of the movie, we see 5 friends who meet in a pub and discuss plans for a group holiday. Rob suggests hiking in Sweden, but gets rebuffed. Afterward, Luke and Rob leave to purchase alcohol, but they notice that the store is getting robbed. Luke hides, and a thief asks Rob for his wallet, but when he asks for his wedding ring, Rob denies it. Torn with indecision over how to intervene, Luke continues to hide, and the thieves kill Rob for not giving them his wedding ring. 6 months later, the remaining 4 embark on a hiking trip along the 𝐂𝐿𝐿 in northern Sweden in Rob's memory. At the end of the first day, they set up a picture of Rob, some candles, and some mementos. Each takes a drink out of a flask, and Hutch pours the rest out in Rob's memory, before replacing the lid to the flask. The next morning, they start again early when woken by a sudden strong rain, and the flask can be seen with no lid. Later that day, Dom trips and injures his knee. Others help him to get up, but he says he can't walk properly. Hutch suggests they cut through the forest rather than use the longer marked trail in the hopes of sparing Dom further suffering. But Luke tells Hutch why don't they both leave them here with the food and then they can go back and get some help. However, Dom overhears them and says he can walk and let's take the quicker route. Now upon entering the forest, the group sees an abandoned van there, and Hutch notices his compass malfunctioning. After walking for some time, they decide to take a rest, and here they all take a selfie. Then after a while they suddenly see a gutted elk hanging from several branches, and they start wondering who would have done this to it. Luke says it's bleeding, so it's a fresh kill and they should leave. As night falls, due to a torrential rainstorm, Hutch tells them that they should pitch the tent, and only then Luke sees strange symbols carved in the trees and he shows it to others. They come upon an abandoned cabin, so they break in to stay for the night, but Luke hears a strange voice from the forest. He asks Phil if he hears that, to which he says no and asks him to come in. Inside, they find necklaces bearing similar symbols, and Luke tells Hutch he definitely heard something outside, to which he says they are not the only animals in the woods. Phil goes upstairs to find some stuff to burn and he calls everyone there. He shows them the statue of a decapitated human torso made of twigs, with antlers for hands and decomposed human forearms and hands for feet. Phil tells them it's witchcraft, and then they all come downstairs. During the night, Luke notices a bright light outside a window, and when he opens the door, he sees the alcohol store where Rob was killed. He picks up a vodka bottle, and suddenly he finds himself outside the cabin and his chest bleeding from strange puncture wounds. He runs into the cabin hearing Hutch's scream and wakes him up, and they see that he pisses himself. They then find Dom in a corner crying and hear some sound from upstairs. Luke goes there and finds a naked Phil praying to the statue, and he wakes him up too. Now all disturbed by their unconscious actions, the group tries to find a way out. Phil asks them if anyone can explain to him what happened to them last night, to which Hutch says they all had nightmares. But Phil says he had never done that and something was in that house. Then after going a little further, Dom's knee starts hurting so he stops. But Hutch says they have to keep moving, and they both get into an argument. Luke says he is going to the top of that ridge and see if he can see anything. Now upon reaching there, he spots a large figure amongst the trees, and he runs back to his group to tell them about it. However, Dom doubts him. Luke tries to explain to them that he is not trying to scare them and also shows them the wound on his chest. But Dom says he has done this to himself. In their ensuing argument, Dom calls Luke a coward for letting Rob die to save himself. This enraged Luke, and he punches Dom's nose. After some time, they find some stuff and a credit card from Anna Erickson that expired in 1984. Hutch tells them they have reported at the lodge and in 5 hours' time, they are going to report them missing. That night, Hutch tells Luke that Dom's knee is getting worse and Phil is not doing good, so he should try and get out to get help, and he will stay with these two. Later, Duke hears someone walking outside his tent, and then he hears a growl. He peeks out of his tent and finds Hutch's tent empty, and only then he sees the robbery scene again. But suddenly something starts moving towards him, and he is awakened by Phil's screams. He comes out of his tent and Phil tells him it was here, and he finds Hutch's tent partially collapsed. Luke asks him where is Hutch, to which he says all he saw are shadows and it just took him. They then hear Hutch's scream from the woods followed by a growl, and the remaining 3 men rush deeper into the woods to search for him. But Dom stops him and says if they run around in circles, they are going to get lost, so they should get back to the camp and get their bearings. However, by dawn, they realize that they are lost and unable to locate their campsite. While continuing their search without their supplies, they find Hutch gutted and impaled on tree branches and get terrified seeing it. Phil says it knew they were going to come this way to find him and that is why it put him there. After giving him an impromptu burial, they continue on. Later, Phil says they had those nightmares and it followed them from the house. Luke says he saw it last night while he was up on that ridge and the trees were the same as this. Then after going some distance, they find some footsteps, but they decide not to go that side and continue southwest and we see that creature following them. Later, Phil is suddenly dragged away by an unseen creature, and Luke hides there. He then finds Dom hiding there and tells him the creature is hunting them. Dom says he doesn't want to die, to which Luke says he is not going to leave him. Despite realizing the creature has been stalking them the entire time, Luke and Dom have little choice but to make a run for it. As the creature gives chase, they find a torch-lined path and see Phil's dead body hanging on a tree. The path leads them to a small settlement and they rush into a cottage to hide. But after they get inside, Luke sees an old woman there and they are knocked unconscious. When they awake, they find themselves restrained in a cellar. Luke tries to see outside and tells Dom that he sees people and it looks like they are building something. Dom asks him to reach the table and cut the ropes by breaking the glass, but only then do 2 men open the door, and an elderly woman enters and gives Luke water to drink, after which she inspects Luke's chest wounds, revealing she bears a similar marking on her chest. On her way out, she orders 2 men to take Dom upstairs, and they take him away from there and Luke hears his screams. The younger woman then enters and explains that preparations are being made for a sacrifice. Sometime later, a being Dom is returned to the basement, who tells Luke that in his nightmare that night, he saw these people offering him to that thing, and he saw his wife. He tells Luke that he is to be sacrificed to the creature, urging him to escape and destroy the village before he too is sacrificed. He asks him to tell his wife that he tried to get back to her. Dom is then taken outside and tied up by the townsfolk, and they start waiting for someone. Frustrated, Dom asks them who are they waiting for, and only then does the creature growl from the woods, and the villagers kneel down. Meanwhile, desperate to escape, Luke breaks his thumb and partially frees himself from his restraints. Amidst the ritual, Dom has a vision of his wife emerging from the forest, not realizing it is the creature until right before it picks him up and impales him on a nearby tree. Sometime later, the young woman comes back. When Luke asks about the creature, she explains that it is a Jotun named Mater, an ancient godlike entity and an offspring of Loki whom the cult provides sacrifices in return for immortality. He has been chosen and is to either worship Mater or be sacrificed. He asks why him, to which she says his pain is great. After she leaves, Luke fully frees himself and ventures upstairs. Armed with a torch, he finds a twisted congregation of mummified worshippers that begin to move and he sets them alight, burning the cabin. He then finds the old woman and knocks her down. The fire attracts the Mater, and it picks up the young woman. Luke finds a hunting rifle and heads downstairs, running into and killing a follower, before taking another man's axe. The enraged Jotun kills the young woman, while Luke shoots at her and escapes. It pursues him, crippling his mind with hallucinations of Rob's death before catching and forcing him to his knees, offering him a chance to submit. But Luke refuses and gets up, and strikes it with the axe, briefly incapacitating her. And then following hallucinatory signposts and rays of sunlight, he emerges in an open field. Unable to leave the forest, Mater roars in anger, while Luke shouts back in triumph. He then heads towards a paved road that shows an approaching car, and the movie ends here. Please like and subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon never to miss new video updates. Thanks for watching,